Welcome back guys, and today we are here with a new deck, and this is a bit of a spicy one actually. This is what I'm referring to as Boros Double Strike, and it did actually have a good name recommended to me, but I have forgotten it, hence the temporary nickname until it comes back to me. But as the name implies in Boros Double Strike, surprisingly we are running a lot of Double Strike creatures, including the new creature Solemn Recruit. It's a 2/2 Double Strike for 3, which is decent, and then if you get one revolt trigger it's very good, and any more from that and it's pretty gonna be very hard for your opponents to win the game if you're attacking aggressively with these guys. With his partner in crime, Iro's champion, another 3 mana 2/2 double striker, and this one is not as impressive as it's not going to grow any bigger, but at the same time it does have a little bit of human synergy, which I don't think is actually relevant in this deck, because I did take it out in the end. I used to run Thalia's Lieutenants. But, so you have your 5 main double strikers, and then the rest of the deck is kind of your standard human shell, except with a bit of spice. We run 2 Titan Strengths and a new pump spell, Invigorated Rampage, which we'll get onto in a second. Then around the human shell, and then of course we have the mighty Mirrorwing Dragon up top, which is a card which a lot of people I think have forgotten about because there's never been a deck for it, and to be honest it shouldn't be in this deck, but there's a difference between doing well and having fun, apparently, and this guy in theory should be hilarious in this deck, so it's rude not to try him out. But we'll kind of go through the deck. I'm going to ignore the generic human cards such as Kytheon, Expedition Envoys, Knights and stuff, just because I've been through them since Origins. They've been around for so long. They are the standard human shell, I'd say. And we run 2 Titan Strengths. We'll go through pump spells actually. 2 Titan Strengths as well, with the new one, Invigorated Rampage. This is a very good pump spell in this deck because Trample and First Strike work well pretty together, and the lack of a toughness boost really doesn't matter because I think every single creature in this deck has First Strike apart from Expedition Envoys, apart from our 1-drops. But so like the toughness boost doesn't really matter in this deck, and the ability to give +4 to a double striker and trample to a double striker, it ticks the boxes, because before we had to choose between something like brute strength, which is +2/+1, and trample, which just isn't as insane as +4 and trample. So, and this also has a nice little flexibility that you can give 2 creatures +2/+1 trample in the right situation, depending. So I'm very impressed with this card. I think it's exactly what this deck kind of needed. So this was part of the inspiration behind this deck. And with all these pump spells, we are obviously running the double strikers, which work well together with it. But we're also running 2 lone riders. These used to be Thalia's Lieutenants, but I don't know. Thalia's Lieutenant's good, but I think Lone Rider is, like, for one thing, this is a dwarf, not a human, and then all our top end isn't really humans, and it's just, and then it doesn't really, the only double striker it really works well with is Iro's champion. So in the end I decided to go with some Lone Riders. Any pump spell makes this thing a flip it, because you just need to gain 3 life, and it becomes If That Rides with 1, which is an awesome name. And this thing will take over the game very fast by itself. And we have plenty of ways to flip it. We have Titan Strength, Invigorated Rampage, maybe some Always Watchings, Gisela, Angelic Destiny, not you Avison, Angelic Destiny. But I guess Angelic Destiny counts as a pump spell, so we'll talk over it for a bit. This is my favourite card in the deck. Best art, and it's also just a really fun card to play with. So then we go onto our removal suite, because like I said, I'm going to ignore all the boring cards. 2 Declaration Stones. It may not be as good as it used to be, but it is still a very good card. We're pairing it up with 1 Ride Down, because I like Ride Down. It's a fun card. Again, it gives trample, which is always a nice thing to you never really even start casting this on Chump Blocker, because it just allows you to get all your damage through. But another nice little bonus with Kaladesh was Shock. Because all our creatures have got First Strike, this is a very good removal spell, because you allow First Strike damage to happen, then you shock that creature, and they die basically without you haven't used your creature in combat. You can double up, which is very good. And then that's really it. I mean, apart from that, it's just a standard human shell, I'd say. The mana base is It looks very, very simplistic, but a lot of thought did go into this. We'll go over some lands actually. There's a lot of choices, but in the end I decided it's so important to have double white and red available early on in this deck. That cards like, where are you? Handling Battlements, as fun and interesting as this card is, it's just colourless mana. It was screwing me more than it was helping me. The meld very, very rarely comes off, and the haste is not too impressive. As maybe there's room for one if you can get a more solid mana base, but I was not impressed by it. And there's another land, where is it? Evolving Wilds, of course. Evolving Wilds, it works very well with our Revolt creature in Solemn Recruit. But again, the tap lands were just killing me. You know, we want to be curving out, and taking a turn off to play a tap land just for the odd case for this 2 rare just didn't feel worth it. So they made the sideline. In the end, I decided to go for the standard mana base. Well, that's kind of the deck. I don't think I missed anything. Like I said, it's just the human shell with some spice in the double strikers. And one thing that is kind of frustrating with this deck is that it is very, very good at getting your opponent down to exactly 1 life on turn 4. Because basically you go turn 2 Consul Lieutenant, turn 3 Double Striker, and then turn 4 either Angelic Destiny or Invigorated Rampage, which is good for exactly 19 damage if you got an attacking with the Consul's Lieutenant. Which is frustrating, because I mean that leaves your opponent exactly on 1, which is both funny and annoying. But we are now playing Mr. Pickles, and he is on the play, which is not good news for us. But we will not keep this hand. This hand isn't impressive, but I think it's worth speculating on. He is on the play, which means we'll get value out of our Knight. So we're pretty much going to be able to play a Solemn Recruit. We have 1 removal spell, a couple early creatures. I think it's worth speculating on, I think is the word of the day. Although I wouldn't mind finding my red relatively fast. Tap land. Okay. Always watching is not terrible either, to be fair. So I mean, our general plan is to go Knight. Next turn Knight, getting a land, and then I don't know. We can party from there. So this deck has been. I mean, I haven't actually tested it against anyone. It's just very much been an AI deck, but I've been having fun, and that's kind of what matters. Could lead with Lone Rider. Any advantage there? It means we could get more value from our Knights. And if we draw a pump spell or something, yeah, I think it's worth leading with Lone Rider. As long as our opponent doesn't miss his land drop. We should be okay here. Because now we can go double Knight, I think. Although we wouldn't get value off the second Knight. Well, we need to rip a land for that, actually. Well, it looks like we're playing black-red control. But we should be punishing them a bit harder here, but unfortunately that is not the case. We will attack. Gain on 1 life. The power of the power of Lone Rider right here without a pump spell. But all is not lost. We do get to hit our land drop for the turn at least. Which is the nice thing about Knight of the White Orchid on the draw. So I mean, next turn if he hits his land drop we get to do that again, and if we rip a land we can even play a 3-drop as well actually, which could work out nicely. We do run 23 lands. It might be a bit too much, but I tried 22 and it was a bit too shaky for my liking. So at 23 it was, begrudgingly. Our opponent has not done anything for the first 4 turns of the game so far, so hopefully they do have a play, because it would be terrible if a white-red aggro deck could not beat the opponent who did nothing until turn 4. Although I assume he is holding up some removal spells here. Mr. Pickles, our friend. Although we are missing a colour of mana as well, to be fair. I'm trying to think of any scenario. So ideally we rip a red land that comes into play untapped. We can go Knight, get a land, then play either Solemn Recruit or Handweir Garrison. Traitorous Instincts, okay. Do you want to be awesome if he'd stole my Lone Rider so I could have flipped it? Yeah, he should have. If you'd flipped my Lone Rider for us, that would be an absolute hysterics. That would have been brilliant. But I am not very worried about this game at this point if he is throwing off a Traitorous Instinct turn 4. Although, to be fair, I said that about Thriving Turtle. Look how it worked out. And we cannot hit land for shit this game. Jesus. Yeah, so we're gonna attack first. We can't flip our Lone Rider, but I'm not sure I want to if he's running Traitorous Instincts. Get a land, and then I guess just next turn we can go. Or we could just play out this thing. Yeah, I think we play out this thing. Because if we rip a red source off the top now, we have lethal. If he Traitorous Instincts us again, or something of the shit, he runs Traitorous Instinct and I just ran out a double striker. Not my finest play, I will be the first to admit, but if we rip a red source off the top, we just win. So, there's that. If he has a Titan Strength, I'm done. But yeah, we literally have lethal if we rip a red source, because Invigorated Rampage will just do it. So, apparently not. We're just not lucky. Could run out Always Watching. That's probably a good idea, because then we have Vigilance on our creatures. Plus then we get in for a lot of damage. And we have a blocker back. So yeah, I kind of like that. Allows us to stay aggressive and, you know, do all our good stuff. So I don't think you can burn me out from 10. Maybe he goes double Act of Treason, and then even then we can still jump. So our opponent, and we gain some life here, down to 5. The mono Traitorous Instinct deck. Maybe I mean playing out the double strike is probably the height of stupidity, but even still that was worst case scenario, and I wasn't worried. Yeah, our opponent's just dead here, and we never managed to hit. We didn't draw a single land this game, and he has to discard his entire hand. Let's see what he's playing with. Oh dear lord, this is an orange. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy just came back from Origins, to be brutally honest. So yeah, just kill our opponent. He's empty-handed. Don't even think we needed to do that. We had lethal without it, but you know, it feels good. So that's how you beat Mr. Pickles. You get land screwed, but somehow your opponent just didn't really do too much there, to be brutally honest. Because being honest isn't it. You know the worst thing is about this whole YouTube gig, I will say, is that people point out your little habits. Like, I think Covert pointed out that I always say brutally honest, and it's now like self-reflection. I just listening to myself say the same catchphrases over and over again. But hopefully we get a slightly more competitive game. That was something. Our opponent went Traitorous Instinct, Avaricious Dragon, which is not exactly a curve that intimidates the deck. And we're not on the play again, which is sad, and we still can't hit our land drops. Okay, this is solid. We get to go Constant Lieutenant into Iroh's Champion. If we won the play, this would be very good, because it's more likely we get the Renown trigger off, but unfortunately that's looking like it's not going to happen. This game, apparently we're just destined to not get to be on the play. Our opponent leads with a Thermal Alchemist in red-black, which is an interesting combo for it. Normally you see that in red-blue. But if he's running a lot of burn, that could be bad news. We'll have to be brave. And then I'm tempted to almost go Always Watching next turn over Iroh's Champion, but I don't think that's right. And he could just have a removal. Okay, he is playing blue. He looks like we're playing Grixis burn. Fortunately, we don't have one of our life linkers in hand, but that Feared Visions, I'm not complaining too much. I should be able to empty my hand relatively fast, as long as we don't flood out. And Angelic Destiny should end the game very, very quickly if our opponent Angelic Destiny should end the game very, very quickly if our opponent taps out when we play as Iroh's Champion. Fortunately, our opponent does not buy the bluff, to be expected. Sun is going to ping us for 1. So we're down to 17. As long as he doesn't wipe my feet. I mean, well, drawing more land isn't great. I will be the first to admit. We kind of just want to empty our hand as fast as possible here, which our deck is capable of doing, but if there are 3 lands in hand, it's not looking too good. And please just get rid of that 1 red. He must be doing it because he's Fiery Impulse. Fair enough. So are we just in a straight race situation is my question. We don't have any removal. I think we have to just slam this Angelic Destiny on this Consul Lieutenant. It's going to be very hard for him to remove, and then we just have to hope he can maybe get there in the air. Shock isn't doing too much right now. I mean, what's the play? We can go always watch and then shock the creature. I don't think that's too impressive. I like trying to go up in the air here. Although he could just flip this thing, but I think Angelic Destiny is the play. So we hit him for 7, and then the next turn we can hit him for... So we hit him for 6 here, and then... I don't know. 6, 12. I think we have him dead in 3 turns, but obviously he's going to be able to flip this thing in the ice. So I wouldn't mind drawing Declaration of Stone and another Shark. Not more. That's not a good draw. I think this game could be our first loss of the season, I'll be brutally honest. Although he is passing the turn back to us, which is nice. Probably means he has a bounce spell though. Double Shock might save the day. So we go into attacks and see what his plan is. Because if he goes to flip the thing, we can double shock in response. Which is, imagine what he's going to be doing here. Unsubstantiate, yeah. Can't do anything about that. I think we have to double shock the thing and then just play out our Consul Lieutenant again. Although if he has 2 burn spells here, he just wins, but I don't think we can do anything about that. Okay, thing down. Consul Lieutenant. We're going to be down to 9 life here, so I don't know. We just kind of... Where did we go wrong? He had the disruption for our aura, and he just kind of... Being on the play, I think, would have made this game a bit easier. But I think it was just the fact he was able to impulse and unsubstantiate, and he's going to be able to probably finish us off here, to be brutally honest. Unless we draw... What could we draw? A lifelinker? What lifelinkers do we have in the deck? Not many that I can think of, let's put it that way. Deck and Stone. I mean, I think we have to kind of go Deck and Stone. Go down to 7, then always watch him. And then just hope he's like got 8 lands in hand. And then yeah, Fiery Temper. If he's pointing out a creature, we might be okay, but it's not good. It's not a good sign when he's going face. Yeah. Trying to think. What could we even draw? Not more land. How many lands did we see this game? 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 lands is not a good sign, but in this kind of deck. But it's going to discard a Fiery Impulse or something here and kill us. Arms of the Vent does the job. So we were beaten by the Grixis Madness deck, which is not a bad way to go out in the grand scheme of things. So Grixis Madness is not a bad deck, and it's got a pretty good human matchup with he's running a lot of cheap burn. So 14 wins in a row was all we could manage. Alas. If only he'd been playing Traitorous Instincts. I'm trying to think. I don't think I did anything wrong in that game. I think just the way the draws lined up. I think if I'd been able to force him, like, if I was on the play of that game, say, and everything played out the same way, I would have been able to slap the Angelic Destiny on the Irosis champion, because he would have tapped out for Fevered Visions, and then that means I would have been very, very hard to lose that game, because I think I would have been able to win the race, especially with Avacyn. So these things happen. This isn't a bad draw though. I like slamming out the Lone Rider here into, and then we can flip it next turn on turn 3 with Invigorated Rampage. I think that's slightly better than Consul Lieutenant. Maybe it's not. We'll come to that bridge when we cross it, shall we? Our opponent is on blue mana, which is a colour. So it's certainly a colour. We've got our first decision. Which one is better to lead out turn 2, Consul's Lieutenant or Lone Rider? And I think I actually kind of like Consul's Lieutenant, because we can flip it and then next turn we can do this trick, which I like. So I mean, Lone Rider's good, but if he's playing blue, we can just bounce it and stuff like that. And our opponent is running Skyland Cascade, which makes me think he's mono blue, which is a colour combo. But I mean, I guess that works out. We get to connect here, which is nice. And if we'd invigorated Rampage last turn, we would have just been doing it for the we would have just been doing it for +4 damage on our Lone Rider. So this way at least we can hold up shock here, which is nice. And we can go for it next turn if we have the opportunity. But I do like Lone Rider in a deck which can support it, which I think this deck is capable of doing. Battle of the Bridge, he has a choice to make, and he makes the choice. But now we get to flip our Lone Rider here, and then I mean, let's see what we draw. Yeah, more land. So flipping Lone Rider is just the play. Give the +4U because we want the lifelink bonus more than we want the double trample. So we get our opponent down to 11 life, 12. 11. And we get to flip our Lone Rider here. Plus we gain a nice chunk of life ourselves, which is nice. Now we have a 4/4 is this thing Vigilance? No, it's his first strike trample lifelink. So it's already got trample now. Something to keep in mind. And he's just gonna bounce it. I guess it's not the worst thing in the world, as long as we don't draw land here, then if we draw something we can play alongside it, I think that's fine. Or we can just flip it again now, which is nice. Next turn anyway. So we're actually getting fairly close. If we went all in on pump spells here, we could hit him for 5, 7, get our opponent down to 4 life, but I think it's better to wait. If he's running cards like Battle to the Bridge, then maybe we can Titan Strength to save our creature. Worst case scenario. Separatist Void Mage, that thing's gonna eat a shock, I think. So, our opponent's on some sort of blue-black deck, but I'm not entirely sure what it is. But we are getting them relatively low here. Thalia's a good draw. So Thalia's a fantastic draw actually, because we get to play Thalia plus Lone Rider and all his creatures come to play tapped. So I think he needs like a sweeper here. In fact, I almost wonder, is it worth not playing out the Lone Rider? We have lethal on board, even through a creature, and we could be in trouble if he plays a sweeper. But if he plays one removal spell, 2, 3. If he plays one removal spell, killing Thalia, I'm assuming, then we still don't have lethal anywhere, even if we play out Lone Rider. So I think it's actually right to just save Lone Rider in hand here, because we have lethal if he can't kill Thalia, no matter what he does. But if he can't kill Thalia, then I don't know. I think playing around the sweeper might be right there. Our opponent seems to be playing a mishmash of a deck, so well, we just win anyway. Our opponent is just playing a mishmash of a deck, so you don't want to like run into a languish and just lose when you've got nothing in hand. Yeah. So that was game numero 3. We'll play one more because his games have been relatively fast. Some weird brews. I don't understand this low ladder. Like, you come across a bad deck, and then you come across that really, really refined Grixis deck, and then suddenly it's back to a Separatist Void Mage. I don't know. I guess it's just a mixture of people who are ranking up for the first time and people who are ranking up after taking an extended break or taking their time like I am. But I guess one advantage of losing now is that I can finally grind off screen. The streak is over, so I can you know, take some decks off ladder now. So unfortunately, if you see me on the ladder, I might not be recording anymore. And this hand isn't great, but it's gonna have to do. As long as we don't draw land. we went from feast to famine with this deck, and that's not the worst thing in the world, I guess. Better than land. So we're playing Nana today for our rank 15 battle. Trying to Storm Chaser minions. Okay, is it burn? I'm not sure what this matchup is. I think if I draw one of my double strikers and he can't answer it, I'm in decent shape. But considering all the cheap shocks and stuff he runs, I might be in trouble. But I guess we get the first blow off here for 2 damage, and then we get to go second Consul Lieutenant into. Hopefully we draw another 2-drop off the top. That would be ideal. Because then we could go Expedition Envoy plus the 2-drop of choice, and then Needle Spires or something. I mean, hell, even the 3rd Expedition Envoy isn't too terrible here. Geist Blast. Yeah, so this is kind of the situation where you can burn us and get prowess triggers. Yeah, so it's going to be how kind the top of our deck is to us. I don't think it's been particularly kind this game. I haven't had any of the kind of god draws I've had of late with this deck, but always watching. That's a spanner in the works. Well, considering I didn't play out first main phase, I think I've subconsciously made that decision, but I'll stand by it. I think that's right. Because if you just like shocks my creature next turn, I'll just have it always watching the field and nothing on the board, which is pretty terrible. Although I guess if he twin bolts me here, then we deserve it. But I think that's right. Jesse and Thief. So we're going back to like an old school deck here. Expedite. Yeah, so this is like the kind of all-in prowess deck, rather than the the more late game control-y one. He hits us for 4 and he draws the card. We smack him for 6 on the crackback with Vigilance though, which will be pretty nice. So, we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana available, so I don't think we'll be able to double spell him next turn. Unless we draw Knight of the White Orchid, which is what I was gonna say. He has 4 lands, so we do this and then, yeah. Can we? No, think this through. 1, 2, 3. We'd go up to 5, which can we do this? We have 3. Yeah, we can do this. I hope I can. I think I'm doing this maths right. Yeah, I can. So that was actually the perfect draw, I think, because it allows us to get up board wider and we can throw out the always watching here. So it's a straight up race here, just slamming our creatures against each other. I'm trying to think. I mean, next turn we can even attack with Needle Spires here, and that thing will be a 3/2 double striker. So if our opponent doesn't see that coming, he might be in trouble. He's actually dead if he attacks all out here and doesn't leave a blocker behind. He might have to consider, and apparently that's enough for him. But I want to see how this one plays out, because I don't think it's over yet. But yeah, it looks like we've got him on the back foot. Depends how many creatures he plays out here. See, why did he rage quit there? He's not in a bad situation. Because we don't really have any good attacks. Second Knight. If we attack with our double striker, we essentially take down 2 creatures here. Or we could play out Knight of the White Orchid and then just attack with our 3/2s, because I don't think I particularly mind losing these. So yeah, I think we're gonna offer the trade for the 3/2s, see if he wants to take them, and then we get to go Knight of the White Orchid. I think he kind of has to take the trade if I'm him. Can't really go down to 4 life. Yeah, so I mean we just traded our 2 1-drops for his 2 drops, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but and we have essentially 3 creatures in the field here. And apparently I got that wrong, and we don't have the same amount of lands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so we had an equal number of lands. I wonder if it's right to attack with a knight there as well, because I don't know. But he's attacking now, which is interesting. Okay, he's just passing it back. He does have Wandering Fumarole up, but I'm not too worried about that. Oh, goodness. Guess we had to get low Needle Spires. Make sure it taps right. And I'm just gonna attack all out here. See what the AI decides to do. He activates Lumbering Falls, but you can block, but you can't trade off here. Yep. So that's how I expect the blocks to go. He goes down to 7 life. And we're on 12, and we have drawn quite a lot of lands, so hopefully, I think we've got more action in our deck right now, which is nice. Niblis of Frost is a way that he can get back in this game, if he has an instant. Okay, he doesn't, but I think he just has to chump here. Well, he doesn't have to chump, but... I don't know, let's see what the top of our deck gives us. Shock is nice. But, unfortunately, we're stuck on red mana, but I guess we got Vigilance, so that doesn't really matter either, actually. Yeah, so we can attack and then we can we can tap a land if we have to. Can't remove a blocker out of the way, but yep. So that's kind of the blocks I was expecting. So we're down to 4. That Niblis, if he can start chaining a bunch of like expedite spells together, then maybe he's got a chance, but if he can't, then we might be okay. Jorian. That's a way he can start chaining spells, to be fair. Like that. This thing is only when you cast an instant sorcery when you can get the tap effect. So it looks like we might be okay here. We have 3 attackers, so yeah. Probably should have just shocked him instead, but I think we've got this. So that was a interesting game against Izzet. I'm not sure. I didn't think I was doing too well that game. I definitely think he left a bit early, but always watching was huge there. And now we can just shock him. Well, that was a game. That was actually a pretty nice one to end things on. I didn't think I was favourite. I thought I was in trouble, and luckily we managed to scrape by, even through the relative flood. And we'll end things on rank 15. So, unfortunately, it had to end someday. The streak had to end, and it looks like I chose today. But it was an honourable death to a well-piloted Grixis deck, where they managed to they did what they needed to do to beat a humans deck, which is have the removal. But I do genuinely think if we'd been on the play of that game, it's very, very hard for us to lose. But that is the joys of playing an aggro deck. And on that bombshell, I guess, I am going to bid you all farewell. But despite the deck's kind of poor showing here, because I think it was a fairly poor showing, the deck does do well. If you resolve one of these 5 creatures on turn 3, your opponents they can't tap out essentially, otherwise they're just going to take an absolutely huge beating. But the forgotten will truly be forgotten. And on that bombshell, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you